All right, if you've been following the news lately, you might think you've got a pretty good handle on India's current safety landscape. But the latest data is throwing us a massive, almost counterintuitive curveball. Traditional crimes are actually falling, yet new, highly complex threats are absolutely skyrocketing. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to uncover exactly what is happening, where it's happening, and who is most vulnerable in this rapidly changing environment.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to unpack the new safety paradox, examine the surge in digital crimes, map out the regional hotspots, uncover India's hidden social crises, and finally, look at the path forward.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, the new safety paradox, a surprising drop in traditional offenses.
Check this out. In 2024, traditional cognizable crimes actually dropped by 6%, falling to 58.86 lakh cases. So, traditional physical offenses, the types of crimes we historically associate with danger, like theft, burglary, or physical assault, they're noticeably decreasing. On the surface, that sounds like a massive victory for public safety, right? It feels like the streets are quite literally getting safer. But actually, wait. This single data point from the 2024 NCRB report doesn't tell the whole story at all. The overall landscape of crime is evolving way faster than our traditional metrics can keep up with.
Because while physical crimes dropped, cybercrime completely exploded, with a 17.9% surge, totaling over 100,000 cases in 2024 alone. The danger hasn't vanished one bit. It's simply digitized. Criminals aren't just disappearing from the streets. They are literally trading their crowbars for keyboards, moving into spaces where they can operate anonymously and across state or even international borders. This is a fundamental shift in how we need to think about personal security.
Which brings us to Section 2, Surge in Digital Crimes, the new frontier of financial threats.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is exactly what's driving this digital crime wave. Look at this pie chart. An overwhelming 72.6% of all registered cyber cases are driven by cyber fraud. So the vast majority of these digital crimes are strictly financially motivated. It's not about hacking for chaos or hacktivism, political statements. It is a highly targeted, super organized effort to siphon money directly out of everyday people's bank accounts. This is organized crime adapted for the digital age, scaling up to target thousands of people all at once.
And this aligns perfectly with broader economic data. Economic offenses overall saw a rise of 4.6%. And get this, a staggering 90% of those cases are fraud, cheating, and forgery. The modern criminal landscape is laser-focused on economic extraction. They are targeting your wallet through increasingly sophisticated digital deception, turning the tech you use every single day, like your smartphone, your banking apps, even your social media, into a weapon of theft. The modern thief doesn't need to break into your house anymore. They just need to trick you into handing over the keys to your digital life.
Let's move to Section 3 and see how this builds. Regional hotspots and vulnerabilities, where crime is concentrated.
Now, these threats are not evenly distributed across the country. It's like a giant puzzle, and different states are grappling with entirely different primary threats. For example, Madhya Pradesh leads the nation in crimes against senior citizens for the second consecutive year, with nearly 6,000 cases. So the elderly population there is facing significant vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, down in tech-heavy regions like Telangana and Karnataka, you've got your primary hotspots for those exact cyber offenses we were just talking about. And Rajasthan has recorded the highest number of rape cases for the sixth consecutive year, highlighting a critical, ongoing vulnerability for women in that region. Each of these hotspots requires a completely different approach from law enforcement.
However, as we look at the Rajasthan data, it's absolutely crucial to understand the systemic reporting mechanisms behind it. Officials note that these high figures partly reflect the state's policy of compulsory FIR registration. This basically means the local justice system is designed to legally mandate the recording of every single report. This gives us raw data that might look inflated if you compare it directly to states that might suppress reporting. Understanding this systemic context is vital so we can view the entire picture accurately, without drawing skewed conclusions about where the highest risks actually lie.
All right, let's pivot a bit to Section 4, India's hidden social crises, the internal threats.
Beyond the external threats and digital fraud, the reports highlight some severe, internalized social distress that is just as dangerous. The documents explicitly reveal a mental health emergency. 1,770,746 suicides recorded in 2024. I mean, this isn't just a statistic on a page. It represents a massive, hidden internal threat and a profound level of societal distress that operates entirely beneath the surface of traditional crime metrics. It really forces us to ask, what systemic pressures are driving so many people to such tragic extremes?
To truly understand this crisis, we have to humanize the data and look at who is actually suffering. Daily wage laborers account for a massive 31% of the total suicides, highlighting severe economic distress at the foundational levels of the workforce. These are folks who are highly vulnerable to economic shocks, debt, and unstable employment. And tragically, we also see over 14,000 cases among students, pointing to intense academic and social pressures. These are deeply vulnerable populations bearing the brunt of this emergency, revealing a real crack in the foundational support systems that are meant to protect them.
Adding to this heavy picture of social vulnerability is a really sharp rise in substance abuse fatalities. In 2023, there were 650 drug overdose deaths, but in 2024, that number rose to 978. That is a 50% spike in just a single year. It serves as another grim indicator of the internalized struggles echoing throughout the country, and it's a clear sign that vulnerable groups are increasingly turning to really dangerous coping mechanisms.
Okay. After examining such challenging data, we really need a breath of fresh air, and there is a deeply positive social trend we have to highlight. Independent evidence from the Tipping Point to Zero report shows a phenomenal 69% decrease in child marriage rates over just a 3-year period. This is an incredibly encouraging shift. It proves that targeted social interventions, prolonged awareness campaigns, and grassroots community efforts can and actually do work to reverse deeply ingrained social issues.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world impact of that percentage. Approximately 400,000 child marriages have been prevented since 2023. Let that number really sink in for a second. That is 400,000 young lives fundamentally altered for the better. It means hundreds of thousands of girls are staying in school, delaying early pregnancies, and having a real chance at economic independence. It's a tremendous victory in protecting one of the nation's most vulnerable demographics.
So, where do we go from here? Section 5, the path forward, systemic evolution for modern threats.
So the crucial point is, how does the nation adapt to a reality where traditional crime is falling while digital fraud and social crises are surging? The reports draw 3 necessary evolutions. First, we must modernize the criminal justice system so it can actually handle complex modern offenses. This means training officers in digital forensics, not just physical investigations. Second, we have got to deeply enhance cyber policing and infrastructure to combat that massive 17.9% surge in digital threats. We need a system that can track cross-border financial fraud in real time. And third, there is a desperate need to build robust mental health and social protection measures, ensuring that the economic and academic pressures driving the suicide and overdose rates are met with proper, accessible support networks.
We've seen the data, and we know for sure the landscape has fundamentally shifted. As crime moves from our streets to our screens, and as internal social distress requires just as much attention as external threats, the ultimate question remains, is our justice system ready to follow? It's a question that is absolutely going to define the next decade of public safety. Keep questioning the data, and thank you for joining me for this explainer.